So is this an artifact? Well, this one is, right? Most certainly it is, isn't it? I've got a neighbor of mine, one of my landowners, says that is not an artifact. He'll argue, since it don't have ears, it don't have notches, that's not an artifact. But we know it is, right? Look at that thing. So why isn't this one? I think it's really important we talk about this for a minute. I'm D.W. Verts, Hickbilly Outdoors, talking again, I think we've done this before, on what is an artifact and what's not. I'll be right back. I think it's just important for folks to know that to get to a finished artifact, it takes a series of reductions to a rock. You have to take pieces off to get to the real thing. I feel a need to be bona fide to folks I'm never going to meet. Y'all need to understand I'm not doing this. There's no real money in this. I'm never going to be big enough for that. There's no ego, whatever. I have this curse of trying to show people and teach people stuff. I don't know what my problem is. So, I had a comment a week or two ago on video, a very good comment, super polite. He says, I don't mean no disrespect, but I think what you found was just a rock. Cool. See, there's a productive, positive comment. He thought to himself, that's just a rock. There's no mystery. It wasn't a rock. It was a napped-on piece, so I'm going to real quick, whatever. Me and real quick don't work very well. I'm going to try to show y'all again how I know that what I'm finding are clues to the scene of the crime. That's my whole thing. Because if you're figuring out those clues, it makes it easier to find the real thing. Make sense? It's been real slow for me for hunting. We're in an in-between time on fields. It's hard to get out much bare field. I looked at one a little bit ago. Corn we took out, but it's just ugly. It's too much crap on the ground. So the creeks, you hear me whine about so many people in the creeks, and my YouTube videos probably hurt me on that. There's people who know where I'm hunting. So I decided to try this video here because I think it's very important. That man had a good question or a good statement to make that he didn't think that was really a arrowhead or a artifact, because artifacts and arrowhead are two different things. Matter of fact, the arrowheads we find, again, aren't really arrowheads. That was not never an arrowhead. It never was. Trust me, it ain't gonna happen. What you need, we look for those clues and signs where a rock was hit on by ancient man with the hopes of producing something. That's what we're looking for. So I know that a lot of this stuff that I find is real because, for one thing, I've done this most of my life, but also I nap. I have made arrowheads myself. So that'll be in a link in the description below. Like they always say, I did a video on that a month or so ago trying to prove a point. You need to look at that video on how you get something out of a rock that is something that kind of looks like what we're talking about, okay? Once you learn how a rock is napped and how the flakes are drawn off, it becomes obvious that some of the things you find cannot be done by nature. I call it nature nap when you find a rock kind of has the right shape, but nature cannot provide enough force, enough speed in that force to make good flakes. This piece here I found the other day, I don't know if I'll make a video. I don't always shoot videos. This one I found the other day. Now, obviously it's got a shape to it. Obviously, it's just a rock on the other end. Maybe it's broke, but it's an adze or something. It's got the shape, so the shape's nice. But if you know what to look for, you can see that's actually overdrawn flake here. They tried too hard to make it narrow right there. It's got flakes drawn off the length of it to thin it down on both sides. There's a massive hit right there. Massive flake took off. And of course you come down to that kill shot deal. But the big thing is those final flakes, and this has been tumbled in the creek a bunch, but you got those finished flakes around the edge. You see them little, look, you can see them from that angle, I think, real well, can't you? Nature cannot do that, and if nature did do that, it wouldn't do it every spaced out all the way around. Another example, I've found so many of these lately, I used to throw these things away, even a year or two ago, because once I started doing these videos and trying to explain to people, it dawned on me how many of these things I've thrown away over the years that were worked flakes, worked pieces, This is not a good napping rock. It's not good enough. It has not near enough silica in it. But they worked. I hope you all can see this. The whole edge all the way around is napped. See how even it is? Nature does not do that. It's impossible. It's got little bitty flakes drawn off all the way around and from both sides. I know you can see a serration look thing. Who knows what they did with this? There's been several conjectures about these kind of rocks, whether it's for throwing at something or maybe games, who knows. It's not a scraper, I don't believe. I wouldn't want to scrape with it. I'm going to show you this one. This is pretty interesting to me. I just wiped water off of it. I probably should leave water on it. This is a flake. It's a spall, or a big flake. Got the bowl of percussion where it was knocked off the rock originally. It was hit right here. Pow is how it come off the rock. You know that's from napping. Some big flakes drawn off, but other than that, it looks like a flake until you see that worked edge again. See that edge? But I'm going to show you something up close and personal on this. It will give you another idea of what we're talking about when you want to see if it's a worked piece or not. Nature cannot even come close to what I'm going to show you right now. I'll try to get up close on this. Now I'll play with this a little bit. I hope I can show you what I'm talking about here. I should have got me a little pointer stick. There's flakes on this rock. This big one, it's a Herzican cone. It happens in nature when a rock is hit by something else, or even glass will leave that cone shape. Not always perfect, but it's got ripples in it. And I don't know if you can see those ripples, but what you can see them in this smaller flake, it would draw right off the very front of that rock. A very fine, small flake goes back about a ½ inch. I'm hoping this camera will focus on that. I'm going in slow. I'm hoping. Can you see those little ripple marks, those little serration marks? Those are done because of speed that piece was knocked off. Nature cannot hit it with that much speed and enough force to make that happen. Does that make sense? It takes controlled hits. Oops. How long has that been there? Maybe an edit. It takes real controlled hits to make that happen. Nature can't do it. Bulldozers and road graders, and they can't do that. Not consistently. That was actually caused by indirect percussion. These people were smart. These people were sharp. They weren't dumb. Okay? They weren't learned like we are, and they probably had it better than we have it. But they knew how to do that. That was done by hitting a piece that was on the rock separate. It wasn't just one pressure, one hit. They had a piece hold up against the rock. They hit it with something else, like a hammer type deal. I struggle with that. It's a way to make pretty little flakes. Those little lines you see were done because it took a lot of speed, pow, to get that off. Okay? So that's when I find a rock somewhere like this. Oh, it's got the shape, but what is it really? I see all those little marks. I see those sometimes in ripples from that high-speed hits, and I realize I have an artifact. No, it's not this. I dig that, okay? But it's clues to leading to that. So there's just a rock laying in the creek. Actually, Patina shows me some stuff there too. But look at all them little hits around the edge. If you can see that, what I'm talking about, that was some sort of tool at one time. Now, there's guys out there that everything they see is an artifact. And that's what getting on to me kind of. It's just a rock. There's guys out there that see effigies in everything. And all my life of doing this, I've only found 2 for sure effigies and 1 maybe. Effigy being a animal, some sort of totem, a face, whatever. Some people see pictures in rocks and shapes in rocks. They're usually artistic people, but it's not human done. If God did it, cool. But it's not what most people say it is. I don't care. I'm going to draw a line at that myself. The other thing, what is not artifacts, but this debitage. Now this is flakes that I made myself in my napping video. I just grabbed a couple of them because they're laying everywhere. Real pretty, real fine flakes. That's not an artifact. Okay? But it is. A man made it, but they never use it. You can't make those things. You try to put edges on them, they're too thin. You know, that'd be a good slice and cutting tool, maybe, but you hardly ever see one worked very much. They're just too thin. That thing is translucent, see-through, fine. I'm glad I made such a pretty flake. That's a flake. So there you go. That's my point. That's what I'm trying to get across. How you identify an artifact that doesn't quite look as cool as that one. Okay, paleo pieces are wonderful, but this is rare. You've got to understand that if you're in stuff that looks like this, or even the flakes to start with, that you're getting closer to finding this. Does that make sense to everybody? I need to produce my bona fides. I need people to understand I'm doing this because it's fun, but because I like people to understand where we're coming from. I don't care the negative Neds and negative Nellies, whatever. Be cool. Tell me why I'm wrong. I'm getting water on the camera again. I'm out of here. I'm DW Verts. We'll talk to you later. God bless.